Hey. Let's see how this goes. See how long it lasts. All I ask is for things to work perfectly. 100% of the time. That's all I want. The gang's all here. I'll take your word for it. In order to protect my fragile anxieties, I don't monitor view counts on streams. It would make me think, like, if I was paying attention to that too much, I'd be like, oh, am I having technical difficulties? If it felt like no one was watching or something. I'm big on it. I'm big on it. All right, for right now, it looks like things are working, but we'll see. We'll see. So right now, you know, and I appreciate people watching, and some people might be new to my stream entirely or have had no introductions. I'm a professional storyboard artist living in Los Angeles, and I'm Boxer's brother. If you catch Boxer's streams, he's encouraged me to get into Twitch, and I took him up on it because last year I had some, you know, the industry, the biz, entertainment, video games, and even advertising, which is more or less my field of expertise, has experienced severe contractions in terms of projects getting greenlit and just everything under the sun. It's like the tide went out and hasn't come back. And it's been somewhat trickling back for me, and I'm lucky for that. You know, I've got enough little gigs coming my way to more or less have my finances on life support, but it's hard times out there, and I was just realizing I needed to do more than just sort of posting on my reputation and my agent and luck to see me through the rest of my career. Well, with AI threatening to replace artists altogether in the field, even if it can't, there are producers and productions that will try to justify it, and if they have any traction with that at all, they will not hesitate to pull the plug on careers. Lolly, do you have a day job, or is it hey, what's up? I shouldn't ask personal questions like that. I apologize. You know, I don't know anybody, and I don't even know what the boundaries are with, like, Twitch and stuff like that. So just for context, almost all of my friends are unemployed right now. Almost all of them. And I guess technically I'm unemployed too. If not for my wife, who is a professional, I won't disclose, but you know, she is not in the entertainment industry, and you know, works a job that is thankfully enough to keep us afloat. A claim adjuster. Oh, very cool. All right, so full house on your end too, and yeah, it's hard times. It's basically like the economy's in the shitter everywhere except for rich people in the stock market, I guess. And And yeah, it's like, yeah. Okay, all right. Now, thanks for sort of filling out the sort of mental picture, and yeah. Let's see here. I mean, I said like all of my friends are unemployed. It's really like nearly all of my professional colleagues, as far as storyboarding, are unemployed. And then in terms of like my personal close friends, half of them are unemployed right now. If they're in the business or business adjacent, like the Hollywood scene or whatever. So bad right now. So bad. Development is down everywhere. Everything is bad. So... And I primarily work in advertising, where work is... Yes, you, if I were to... You work in QC and mastering, yes? As far as digitizing and updating formats for distribution and streaming. Am I right? KJ, are you a freelancer in that realm, or is it are you talking about different? Yeah, do you do different projects, or well, anyway, to backtrack a little bit, very quickly, I'm trying to lay the tracks for a long-term side gig plan for the back half of my artistic career, wherein I can be a popularizer of traditional artistic techniques in a digital format. Because there are a lot of, like, you know, artistic influencers and stuff right now. Most of them are not what I would call, like, actual professional artists. At least in the biz that I'm entrenched in. And I don't know, I haven't storyboarded like a movie, for instance, but I've storyboarded over 2,000 commercials. So I do have a wealth of experience about a certain niche sector of entertainment, and I've done dozens and dozens of video game trailers. You're an occasional singer. Very good. Ah, excellent. I'm glad. Yeah, if I could get this to replace... I mean, I can't see it happening for well over like years from now. If Twitch even, you know, exists the way it exists now in a few years, we'll see. So many things are changing, but hopefully what this will be is it will organically grow, and I will have a kind of backup plan in terms of like I know I've got artistic skill. I know I can teach it. But what I don't have is an artistic degree, or any kind of higher education, unfortunately. And this, if I can set up like an example of myself being a known draw for audiences and students, at least in an online sphere, I can parlay that into an educational career, as far as like I could give guest lectures or do events and demos and things like that, at least. And maybe doing that, as well as the occasional actual work gig, will be enough whatever lies ahead in the future. And in fact, I'd rather be doing work that comes from a demand that I manage. Like, oh, I've been in, you know, if I can create a demand for seeing the techniques that I can demo and even do mentoring and stuff like that. If there's a way that that can at least in part replace my current income, I might go for it entirely, because the truth is, in storyboarding and advertising, you do age out, you know. It's not for, you know, I'm 40 now, 41, but you know, am I gonna storyboard video game trailers when I'm 50? I don't really realistically see that happening. But I could teach younger people how to do that, and they can do it. And anyway, it's about time I gave back. I don't need to hold all my secret tips. Yeah, all the positivity, none of the, you know, who is more... Boy, that like that's a great way to put it. Bob Ross, but for storyboards. I don't know if I'm that wholesome, but you know, I like a little bit of rated R, a little bit of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I'm no Boy Scout, but yes, I do want to set a good influence. I set a good example, if not a good influence. And there's a lot about art and artistic careers that everybody kind of has to find their own way, unfortunately. Or at least when I was coming up, there was no like storyboarding existed as a career, but it wasn't done digitally. It was done on paper. So any class that if anybody was mentoring you in storyboarding, it was done on paper. You see what do you see here? Yeah. I mean, this is the Zelda song. This is the main Zelda theme, but it's done on it's the Vitamin String Quartet, for what it's worth. That's what it says. Yeah, that's the original Zelda suite. Okay, so yeah, it looks like this is like a medley. The music tonight will shock and amaze with its unfamiliarity, because of I'm not doing the normal Zelda and chill, and that's just because doing these fills is just not as exciting necessarily for me. Like, it's kind of like, I enjoy this because it's busy work, but it is busy work, and I don't mind having something else to stimulate me a little bit of fun music. And you guys keeping me company is great. Why is this happening? You don't need to be opening right now, Photoshop. Well, that's a scary thing. The future of programs spying on us to suck in their voracious appetites for human data so that they can train AIs to replace us. Jesus fucking Christ. You are... Aw, that's an awesome name. Good night, Penelope. Good night, Lolly. Thank you for the inspiration and all your help. Henny, I love that name. It's awesome. Good night. See you next time. Anyway, to keep going with the mission statement, if anybody uninitiated is still listening, KJ, I'm sure you're hanging out or not, but there might be new people in the audience I'm not really monitoring, and I'm just saying that the only real way that I know how to teach is with case studies, like real, because everything else just feels so fake. Like, what am I going to be like? Oh, this is the way, or whatever. There's a million ways to do something. I could show you the way I do it, and I can I know for certain it works because I use these methods for work. And so the best way for me to come up with a lesson plan is to invent a job, and that's what this project is basically doing concept art, key art, and story development for the Zelda film, which I'm not hired by Nintendo. This is just speculative work, but if I can. Yeah, agreed. I'm actually like I'm an education skeptic myself, just to broadly. I don't know. Like, obviously some things, like you would want your physician to be highly educated. I get that. That makes sense. When it comes to art, certainly there's an amount of technical things that it's definitely helpful that you, in some instances, have a teacher that is guiding you through some of the trickier bits. Some people get stuck faster than others, but art is something that you can learn just by doing and experimenting, and it's more or less what I did, and worked out great for me. And I feel for people. The concept of case studies was suggested to me by my friend wanted me to do a lecture for his architecture students, and I was like, oh my god, how do I? He was like, I was like, I'm a storyboard artist, I'm not really sure how that dovetails with architecture. And he's like, you sketch for a living, and my class specifically is about sketching for architecture. And the students, like, they just want to, they're anxious about sketching, and they keep wanting to just hit the fast forward button and get the final image. And they're not taking the time to patiently think through the problems as they're happening and finding it in the drawing. And, I think you could be, so I took that theme and ran with it, and I was able to put together a lecture and even do a demo that showcased the approach and why sketching is, I called it sketching the thinking tool for creators. You got to utilize the tools, and then there's so much that is, your methods become your style and stuff like that. You really have to, it's like you have to separate from the teacher in order to find yourself, right? And it's just unfair in general that art school costs so much, and the guarantees are non-existent. There's no, like, you cannot guarantee that after going to art school for 4 years that you will have artistic ability. Like, there's no such thing. there's no such guarantee like that. People can go to art school and come out and not have any kind of applicable skills. How does that happen? And I know that happens because I've had art teachers who can't draw and can't paint, but somehow are perfectly qualified to turn around and then teach a class of high schoolers. It doesn't make sense. There's got to be a better way. It's fun to see these progress where these lines are getting filled. They become more real. You know, your imagination can start to spark on it. Here, I'll save this and keep going. And I'm not saying like my methods are revolutionary or anything like that. I do have a lot of different ways I do things. But as far as like the artistic methods I use, bringing that into storyboards, not common. And it's not, don't need to toot my horn too much, but the agency I'm represented with, it's like I'm senior at that agency for a reason. Like they get the most calls looking for me specifically. For the especially hard projects, for the especially difficult to please clients. So you can see with by filling this in, like now we have a roadmap to thank you. And I no shade against other artists sort of jumping the gun a little bit and taking their, you know, we all got to find our path, and some people are natural educators, and you know, I appreciate seeing people do find their way. I mean, there's no difference between what, like, through my career, the only intention was to explore being an artist. When you become an artist, like, you're like, oh, I'm gonna seriously make a go at being an artist. Let's see how this goes. I say this all the time. You're essentially taking a vow of poverty. You know, no one seriously, like, you tell mom, dad, I'm gonna be an artist. Imagine KJ, you're like, I'm gonna be a professional singer, and your parents are like, please don't do that. You know, I'm not sure if that was your experience or anything like that, but you know, it's certainly not a path that isn't fraught with peril, at least financially or whatever. You need to, being an artist in any sense. Okay, if you're so my parents were professional artists, and they still were like, can't you become like a banker or something like that? Like, they did not, even though they knew, oh, that's awesome. They were not keen on encouraging me to pursue art professionally in the same vein that they did, because well, I don't know why they did. They just felt like they weren't being good parents unless they invited or encouraged me to, I don't know, be miserable. what's the point of that? But it's just in their instinct, their boomer instincts. Okay. So this is not the shading that I will use for this scene, but you can just see how much easier the shade. After doing these fills, what this does is it takes it takes all the risk out of edge work when it comes to adding lighting and tonal details. So I can move very quickly and without risk, getting in shading, like real proper shading details after I do these fills. And because it's so helpful just to knock that out of the way, that's why I sort of dedicate this big chunk of it. Got your voice from your dad since we both sing the high parts. That's awesome. So you collaborate with your dad. That's awesome. I've had a few runs artistically with both my parents on occasion. For better or for worse. Classical Zelda playlist is kind of winning me over a little bit. Some of these are just not good, but what a good run with some of these now. This sword is so like low poly. It looks like it's just a do better than this. Let's see. Really bothering me to see it rendered a little too perfectly. It doesn't look like I used a ruler. Like I can tell I tried to make these lines as straight as possible. But it's killing me to see. It just looks too tidy. What's your, like, are you, no, I'm not musically inclined myself, are you, oh, my face is so dark. Will this work? Hang on for seconds. I'm going to plug in this kick light. Just these occasions. A little something to accentuate my handsomeness. Okay, the I was going to ask if you do like Frank Sinatra, or like, are you a crooner? Opera, you know. Tell me what kind of music. Here I'm adding the, it's like a close-up on a sword, so it needs details to show some of these. This is the Sword of Evil's Bane, right? It needs something that feels like battle damage from the many years of use. Because once I add the fills, that's basically signing off on the drawing of the thing. It's basically saying no more drawing on that. It's shipping down the pipeline. It's not supposed to come back the conveyor belt and be dealt with changes to the drawing at that point. It's just lighting and rendering at that point. You sing jazz. Huh. I love finding this out about you. You will be quite the lullaby enthusiast with your baby on the way. Yeah, make an album. Make a fucking rad album. You should do this. See if you can get something done before your kid comes, because that is going to be that'll be a little bit of a game changer with your schedule. I mean, if you're lucky enough to get some parental leave with work, maybe you could manage that. But there may be the hobbies you will be into from here on out will be hobbies you can do while you're while you're dealing with your children. That's awesome. Are you going there specifically to record? I mean, that's like a mecca for musicians, and Nashville is. You're visiting it. Are you going just yourself? Your wife coming? Okay, we can see here that the work we've done to dirty up Link's arsenal has enhanced its realism and appeal compared to everything else. That was time well spent, I believe. now I'm ready to sign off and do the fills. There's a lot of ways to do fills. Some people, this is not a bad method, but some people will use the selection tool and then just fill that way. And that can be an efficient way of doing things. But I think it's a little too artificial in some respects, especially around the edges. And so I prefer just doing it this way, the old-fashioned way. You and your father, I'm glad you're getting that time in. So do you have siblings? Is your dad about to become a grandfather for the first time? Is sort of my roundabout way of asking this. How excited is he that you're having a baby girl? My parents like shat themselves when I told them we were having a girl, because I knew they had wanted one, and they had tried after having my brother and I. You know, it's like a house of boys, and my dad always just wanted a girl anyway. So he was super happy when we announced my daughter. First grandkid. Perfect. Alright, well, they're overjoyed. Now, do you live near them? Like you're from Seattle, born and raised? Are you transplanted there, or ignore me if it's too much to ask, but okay. What I'm kind of asking is, I hope you have some family nearby that can help out with babysitting. Oh, that's perfect. Great, you're set. I mean, you're not set. But for the struggles ahead, that's a good position to be in. For them and for you, that's great. Oh, what a wonderful thing. Those sorts of love stories and family stories that feel too far and few between. That's funny. That's great. So wait, are you saying that like all the grandparents basically are on deck here for baby coming? Do you have a name picked out? I apologize if I asked this already. You don't have to disclose. You can just say yes or no. It's just like a funny topic about how you have to name children, and then yeah, okay, that's great. Good. Glad they're all excited. My wife and I were like, we would go through these things, and she, you know, she'd be like, well, how about the name Kate? I really like the name Kate. And I'm like, oh no, the most annoying girl at my high school was named Kate. Can't be Kate. And she'd be like, okay. Well, what about Ingrid? Ingrid is like a good Scandinavian name. I'm like, oh, my psycho ex-girlfriend was Ingrid. Can't be Ingrid, you know. It's gotta be somebody else, you know, some other name, whatever. And so you end up sort of like, what you end up having to go with is a name that neither of you have negative preconceived notions about. So it's almost by process of elimination. That was the case for us, at least. It's like it was more like, well, what name don't we hate, you know? So when I do the fills, it's in 2 passes with, first I set a dark background, and then I fill the image with white where I want the fill to be. So that's what I'm doing right now. Right. So I don't know if you were in the know with the joke you made with Karen, but that actually happens to be my daughter's name. And we were like, Karen, it's a perfectly great Scandinavian name. And then, like, literally the next year, the name Karen was canceled as in the zeitgeist. Which is why we call her Kiki. Instead of, it's like, be like, oh, Karen. And we're like, yeah, we don't call her that. So after all of the attempts to be prudent with the name assigning, you still have these unfortunate realities. Maybe in the future the name Karen will redeem itself. But yeah, I think there's gonna be, like, when they study names in the future, and they'll be like, yeah, Karen was really popular up until this point, and then it became one of the guy's sons can't believe they have a family friend named Karen. Yeah, because it's like, right, like it's so, yeah. And aside from my daughter, like, I didn't know any Karens. Just never ran into a Karen in my life. Like, as far as like, oh, hi, my name is Karen. Never. It was like, I knew the name existed. Didn't have any negative connotations with it. Never knew anybody who had that name. Had a good ring to it. Like, the name is apart from all the current negative connotations with Karens in our society, you just think about the name itself. It's nothing wrong with it. There's a good ring to it as far as going with my last name. But yeah. So there's sort of like more to the story too, because Kiki, long before we were like seriously considering names, my wife was pregnant, of course, and we would do these walks to Starbucks in the morning, and because for living in LA, we actually live in a pretty walkable neighborhood, so we had this routine in the mornings where before we went to work, we would just sort of walk with each other to Starbucks. And when she was pregnant, we kept up that tradition. Though she couldn't have tons of coffee, she could have a few sips. And when she did take her sips of coffee, the baby would just go nuts, like kicking. And it was like she loved caffeine or something. Like she loved the coffee. And, she was a very kicky baby. And so we gave her this nickname, like, you know, while she was still in my wife's belly, we called her Kiki Starbucks. Kind of like Ziggy Stardust. It had the same sort of ring to it. It was just a silly nickname for baby on the way. But I fell in love with the name Kiki for her. And I was really pushing for, like, literally legal name Kiki. And my wife was like, no. It's not like a serious name. People won't take her seriously. She needs, like, to have a professional kind of name. I saw the point that she had, having some sort of point to it. However, I think creative names are cool. But I understood also that, hey, just because you have a name doesn't mean that's what people call you. You can have a nickname. And so I sort of retconned it where, okay, if Kiki will be the nickname, what can we name her that will be that can be shortened to the nickname Kiki? And so obviously Karen is the first name, and it's too much information for a public stream, but essentially we gave her a first and middle name that is easily understandable to where you give it the nickname Kiki, and so that is Karen being the first part of it, and then her coupled with her middle name, you could see where Kiki comes from. So that was a explanation there. That's awesome. Yeah, I love the way nicknames come about. Because it's like a story about the person, you know? Okay, so after that, the pass of the white on the dark, I invert the background to go full white. And then invert the fill to go dark. And what this does is it lights up all the little areas that I missed. They get lit up like Christmas trees. And it might be harder to see on the stream, but here you can see these pinpoints of light. Imagine a blackout curtain over a window that had little pinpricks in it. It would become very apparent if the sun was bright behind it. This is sort of replicating that effect. I know this doesn't look beautiful on a stream, but this is the reality of the process. So, true, transparent honesty. This is how I make the sausage. It's not how everybody does it, but this is how I do it. Every damn pixel on my hand. I love that name. Man, that's funny. I will tell you, I have no preconceived notions or negative connotations with that name. Yeah, I've been, I think something about having, like, my real name is an interesting name, and I think having an interesting name to begin with sort of preempts the whole concept of nicknaming. So I've never had a nickname, not in the way that, like, my daughter does. going through, eradicating any unfilled bits. Looking for full opaque where I want it. KJ, you may need sleep. I'm not telling you to go. That's not the case, but I was telling Lolly earlier, I just had too much coffee later in the evening, and I'm enthused about getting affiliate, which happened earlier today. Okay, cool. Yeah. Very good. Well, let's keep hanging out. This is fun. I did a full day of work for a real gig today. Do you happen to watch much TV? Not that you have to, or even if you do, you may not have seen the commercial. But, oh, good. I mean, it is neither good nor bad that you do watch at least some TV. The Travel Oregon commercials, as far as I can tell, I like this track. Never, we're not really broadcast. Maybe they were. I mean, they were big online. If they were broadcast on TV, I certainly never saw them in the wild that way. But I'm glad your parents liked them. And so that was a fun campaign. Man, I'm hoping it comes back. They are that kind of animation. Oh, that. Ironically, they are being broadcast in. Well, I guess Washington is not Oregon, so it makes sense to actually broadcast them out of state. Yeah, I was erroneously thinking for a second. It's like advertising. Come to Los Angeles, and you're in Los Angeles. But obviously, that's a completely different state than Oregon. Have you seen these Airbnb commercials that are on? That's like got like orthographic view with like a family in a hotel and stuff like that. They've been playing a lot, so there's a good chance that you've seen it, but no big deal if you haven't. But I worked on that campaign. Let's see if I can find like a screenshot. This one.
If you're
You share a bedtime, exactly. Yeah. When you travel with your kids, you share a bedtime with your kids. So those, yeah, that campaign, and there's several commercials in that campaign, and they're a very exacting client. They definitely have a good appetite for storyboards, which I'm grateful for. Because work is scarce right now, and it's though their projects are challenging, the commercials themselves are deceptively simple, and so there are a lot of challenges. But I've been lucky to been on, you know, been on the campaign for a bit. It's apparently well received. It's a good, successful campaign. So that's cool. I happened to see it tonight just in the wild. I've seen it several times, but when you're working on a project and then you're seeing it also, it's not the same project, obviously. It's like a different commercial for the same campaign. But it's fun. It's fun to see it. Okay, time to fill in this skeleton. Save work. Must save. I remember cutting a commercial in LA, and I never saw on TV until I was in a hotel in Vegas. Was it now editing is fairly close, that's at the end of a pipeline, so you might have seen it fairly close to when you finish that project. Only mentioning it in my experience, usually by the time I see a commercial air, it's basically leaving my short-term memory, or not short-term. It's I'm on the verge of entirely forgetting that I had worked on it at all, and then I see it on TV, and I'm like, this seems vaguely familiar. Why does it look like I know what I'm? Why do I know what's going to happen next, even though I've never seen this thing? It's like deja vu. Okay, so you know the feeling then. I don't love every project I work on, but it is nice to have had a large amount of projects that wherein if someone says, well, where might I have seen your work, I can say, heard of Travel Oregon, or just Airbnb, or almost everything I work on is a cool project, but some of them I even get excited about. KJ, do you stream? Am I remiss in asking this question? So I don't know if I've noticed that. I do that too. I'm like, it's my wife you know, she'll be watching her, you know, she watches like Bravo with like Real Housewives and stuff like that. And it's commercial break, so she just fast forwards through stuff, and I'll come in the room and be like, "Go back, go back, go back! That's my commercial." And like we do not fast forward commercials in this house. All right, so no streaming aspirations at the moment, huh? You gotta give the people what they want, man. I'm sort of surprised and pleased that my wife has been receptive enough to the to me streaming at all. I suppose I have to watch myself and not take advantage of this generous tendency of hers at this moment. I'm certainly not in any danger of becoming big anytime soon, so I'm not, you know, she's not necessarily being naive about this stuff, but I could have understood if she said, "Yeah, I don't really like you. I don't like the idea of you being putting your life out there in a public way. You know, I like that you have like a behind the scenes career, and I don't want that to change or whatever. It feels like a distraction. Why don't you go do something more productive," kind of a thing. Like, she'd have a point. If she said that, I'd be like, "Yeah, she has a point," but she was pretty gung-ho about it. And I think, again, my brother's influence, you know, she gets along well, like really well with my brother. And I'm pleased about that. So with her being supportive like that, and with him doing the same, it's nice because I like doing this, and I really appreciate that I don't have a lot of. Okay, all right, you're a boring gamer to watch, huh? His pics with the family are nauseatingly cute. Are you talking about my brother? The, like our family? Anyway, yeah, he's a great uncle. Yeah, like, he'll get... Today he said, my son came... Only because, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I go to my parents' house, to essentially make them babysit. Like, my wife works late on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So on those days when I'm working, it's like, holy moly, I can't... Like, my job requires concentration, and I can't just, I can't just say, "Hey, Kiki, you know, do your own homework. Don't bother me. You know, Daddy's working," kind of a thing. Shit'll never get done. So the method we use is I just drive them over to my parents' house and say, "Hey, you guys, you know, help Kiki with her homework while I work." I just set up in my old bedroom and finish my day there. And it's been working out great. My dad helps Kiki with her homework. And they can go swimming in the pool and stuff like that. So it's win-win-win. And of course they see the kids. So. But today, Boxer got home from his day job, and my son was there and just ran up and gave him a hug for no reason, which is My son is not super. He's not known for his affection towards towards anybody other than my wife. So it's nice to see that he's sort of opening up and being more loving to the family. Just a little boxer anecdote there. Stuff is looking good. It's like filling a mold. You know? It's got this satisfaction. Imagine like seeing like a 3D printing come together. And what's funny is this sort of cresting over a threshold on this project where the finish, which at the outset seemed a million miles away, you gotta tap into that village. It's good for everybody. Absolutely. I mean, that's like the best. You're in a real sweet spot. My wife's parents are good people, but they live far away. Or I guess her dad lives in Oregon. But that's nowhere near here, you know. And they're a little bit older than my parents. So they're not as up for actual dealing with young kids, though they appreciate them and love them. It's they've been grandparents for a long time, on thanks to my wife's siblings. So kids they've kind of been there, done that thing. Excited, of course, for my wife, but it's not the same thing as it was with my parents becoming grandparents for the first time. That's a super exciting thing. That's a nice track. Kind of shoehorning the lyrics into this Zelda tune, but it's not bad. This is going to be a fun chapter for everybody involved. That is great. I think I was almost making a point before I got distracted, but the progress I've made on these drawings is now, it's like it, you know, you're pushing, you're going against the tide, you're pushing this boulder uphill. It's feeling like, okay, it's starting to level out a bit now that I'm at the top. It's a little easier to keep going. And then before long, it's going to be like, I know that like the time and the effort I put into it now will have results sooner with less effort than all the efforts I put into it earlier. It's it's beginning to take its life of its own. Stuff it's almost drawing itself. It's not as it's nothing harder than starting with a blank page and wondering where you're going to go with something. Now those anxieties are not there the way they were. Every time I open up this image, I get excited about finishing because it looks within reach. Very excited. Okay, yeah. So grandma's, you're lucky to have a grandma still around. Let me think here. I only have one left. Yeah, I have one grandma left. And we love her. She will probably outlive me, but yeah, grandma's probably like, I'm okay, you know, I'm okay sitting out the babysitting. I will be over here nursing my third hip replacement. Okay, now we invert. Dark becomes light. Light becomes dark. Okay, yeah. I don't know if this was a boomer thing or like a or whatever the previous generation before our parents, you know, the grandparents that it was just sort of weird that it felt very common, and I'm not the only person whose family sort of had this dynamic, but uh, very very much the opposite of now, where it's like, you know, me and my wife are like, we're having kids, and my parents are super excited and they can't wait to get involved. Um, when my parents had me, uh, my dad's folks like hightailed it out of there. They're like, "Oh, great, bye. You know, we're gonna move to Scotland and never see you guys practically." And it's kind of like a, you know, for a loving family, kind of felt like a little bit of a middle finger. I don't know what they meant, if anything, by it, but as a result, my memories of my grandparents are few and far between, unfortunately, and that's a shame because there could have been so much more. But that's how they opted to go with things. You know, there in spirit, not so much there in person. There were visits, but nothing nothing even close to what my parents are doing with my kids. And it just really underscores like why I'm so grateful for that help and the opportunity for my kids to know and love their grandparents as much as me, you know. It's a huge part of their lives. Giving your kids awesome experiences is the most rewarding thing in the universe. The other day, we were at a birthday party for one of my daughter's classmates. We were at one of those like mini golf places. And my son tagged along. It's just how it goes. You know, the younger siblings get to shadow the older siblings. Good. I'm glad. She'll be able to meet and get that family time in. But going back to my story, they brought out like the pizza party, and they had like pitchers of soda, and yeah, my son, who, how old is he? Yeah, he's 4. I keep thinking he's 5. I keep thinking he's 5 because he tells me he's 5, even though he's 4. He's like, "Daddy, I'm 5." I'm like, okay, you keep saying it. I guess you are, but no, he's not. He's 4. Anyway, he was at the party table. You know, they were serving up the pizza and drinks, and he got served a Sprite, and he'd never had a soda before in his life. And we knew it was coming, and we had no issue with it. We were just watching from a distance, because my kids are old enough basically to not need us to interfere with their meals. Like when they're at a party or whatever, they can just, like, my daughter can just open up a bag of chips, doesn't need me to do anything. Yeah, my son, yeah, like they don't spill. They're like past that phase in life, right? Where they're like Tasmanian devils causing problems wherever they go. They're really good. And my son tried this Sprite, and it was amazing. He was like, takes this sip, and he just kept sipping it for like 5 minutes straight. Like, didn't put it down. Just kept tasting it and loving it and experiencing it and being like, God, that's so good. I need another sip. And watching him experience that was like the highlight of my month. Something so you take it for granted, like, oh, it's just a soda, right? But watching a 4-year-old drink a Sprite for the first time, kind of amazing. Yeah, forever changed. Yeah, it is soda awakening. I also love being like, it's not like I'm, it's nothing bad about it, but like, I look for opportunities where I can inject a little bit of fun influence on my kids. So like, today, they're at my parents' house, like I said. So after she was done with homework, Kiki and Robbie, or, naming my kids basically, my kids were basically raiding the pantry at my parents' house for snacks, and they got this big can of Pringles. And the two of them, like between them, they'll finish off a can of Pringles. No problem. So they were opening it and getting in there, and I was prompting them, and I was like, okay, you gotta fill your bowl with Pringles and say, this is the good stuff. They're like, yeah, this is the good stuff, with all the proper inflections, as if they were like, I don't know, if they had scored a bag of pure Colombian cocaine. Like, this is the good shit, I don't know. I just feel like that's hilarious. Really scored, man, the good stuff. There's these opportunities where you can you can be a bad influence, but also you can't really object to it either, because it's not like you taught them a bad word. It's just sort of like the connotation from an adult perspective is loaded. So like, I could teach my son to say, like if you're seeing someone dancing and they're doing a really good job, you could say, shake it, baby. And that would be something that my son would think would be cool. But of course, my wife would be horrified to hear him say that. Or at least she'd laugh and then say, don't do that, or something like that. That's sort of what I'm talking about. All these little bones. Yeah. Teach them the catchphrases. I'm loving it. Well, this would be good. These ribs. And I knew that this time would come, which is why I didn't just phone it in when I drew this rib cage. Now, I'm not going to change the drawing, but I'm just really curious. Rib cage. Let's see how many. Because when I did this, it was kind of like a guess as to what the amount of ribs was. So let's see here. Okay, here's like the back view. Okay. Screenshot. Is it? Here we go. Okay. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Basically, what's this? Can't really see here, but let's assume that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so I'm short a few ribs, at least on this guy, and then here, I don't even know if I can count. So. Note to self for next time I draw a skeleton. I'm trying to cram in 12 ribs. But honestly, that's not something I'll lose any sleep over. I'll be happy enough if it looks symmetrical and logical. Challenging geometries. Getting sleepy. I'm going to make this skeleton my last one. I'll do the dark pass on this next, and then that'll be that. Then what I'll probably do, because this, though I'm sleepy, this stage of doing these fills, it's very zen and it's very, it's kind of mindless. It's necessary work, but it's not particularly, like, there's not a lot of, there's like no problem solving that goes on. It's just basically like filling the lines. And so it's great fodder for like a super late stream, such as this one, or a super early stream, or whenever I'm not necessarily feeling like I have to make something super entertaining for the masses. Nothing controversial will happen. So it becomes an opportunity for me to go easy on myself. So I'll try to set an alarm. Take myself a little seriously in the morning and just see if I can get up and do more of these fills. I gotta do them no matter what. So might as well do them when everyone's asleep. And when I don't need to be at my best, with all my mental faculties firing on all cylinders, I can come back in the morning with a fresh pot of coffee, and tackle some early morning busy work. Every little bit helps advance the ball. The momentum is great for my morale. Just a couple of weeks ago, I felt totally stalled on this project. I had been so busy with work. My Zelda drawings were languishing in limbo. I had 30 followers for like 10 weeks straight. And now things feel so different. So much has gone down. My heart is full of hope. Are lifting. Drawing is fun again. I'm tired now, and I know I am because I'm going cross-eyed. As my eye muscles are relaxing themselves, trying to put myself to sleep. But my fingers know what to do. Palm stretch, just a few little bits. Nearly there. This looks good. Save. Do an iterative save. Really double down on the saving. Boy, all that work just filled in only 2 of these illustrations. So, never too much saving. Okay, Jay, I'm going to call it a night, man. I think we're in a good spot. Get some sleep. Only because this is mindless busy work. I'm going to get up early in the morning and continue it while I'm still mindless, but a little bit more refreshed. So, thanks for the company, man. If you're up at 4 a.m., drop on in. Okay, man. Good night.